Hey guys, Choppadong here, a VIP's DFS Army. I wanted to go through a couple of slides and show you a little bit of research since MLB baseball is just around the corner. And basically, let's ask the question if stacking matters, how much it matters in MLB. I mean, I think we all know stacking's important. The bigger the stack, the better. If you've read the articles, seen the podcast, you know 4x4s, 4x3s. Over on DraftKings, 5x3s, 5x2s are the stacks of choice because it's easier to hit an offense than it is individual players in it. But I had a question early in the season. What should we be doing those first couple of weeks? There's aces everywhere. Pitching is generally tougher. We can argue the aces aren't in midseason form yet, so they're vulnerable. That's a thing. We could also argue stacks might not be a thing because there are so many tough pitchers that it's going to be harder for teams to score 6, 7, 8 runs and explode early on. And with the lower scoring games, you might be better taking pairs, 2x2x2 in places. So let's do a little bit of research and let's kind of put that theory to bed. If I could get my slide going, click, there we go. I don't know why the arrow didn't work, but do we stack? Yes, of course we stack. Offenses, like I said, are easier to hit than individuals. You will find in the big nickel and dime and quarter contests, you will find unstacked lineups winning. And if you can hit all 9 of your individual plays better than an offensive stack, you're going to win, right? But again, getting you there with more margin for error, stacking is what allows that because extra at bats, stacking isn't really about the RBIs and the runs generated and stuff like that. We used to think that it is, and it kind of is, but it's actually more about the extra at bats. Every time your hitter doesn't make an out, that leadoff hitter gets an extra, he gets a 4th at bat. When another guy doesn't make an out, that second hitter gets an extra at bat, and so on and so forth until the entire lineup gets a 4th time through, maybe a 5th time through. The bigger the offense goes, the more that offense scores, the more runs that offense scores, the more opportunities the lineup as a whole receives. That's where you're getting all of your points because you get an extra at-bat to score points. If you only have 3 at-bats in a game, you've got each lineup has 33% of your opportunities. You get that 4th one in there, each one, that's another 25% actually at a higher rate of scoring. It's a better chance to score points. You get that 5th, 6th, 7th line, at bat. If you can possibly get to 6 at bats, you've got twice the number of opportunities to score points as a lineup did that only had 3 at bats. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense to you. And the more offensive runs a team scores, the worse pitching it faces because the back end of the bullpen comes in. The back end of your mop-up guy comes into the game. So yes, you want to stack because of the extra opportunities that it creates. What about early season, though? Aces are everywhere. Should we stack against aces? I would say yes. I've seen Max Scherzer give up back-to-back bombs. If you had the offense against Max, you did well. Is it contrarian? Absolutely. Does it win tournaments? Yeah, it can. Should we stack at all? And does unstacked lineups, do they have a better winning chance early in the season before everything rounds into shape? That was kind of the question that I had, and that's what I wanted to test. So I only had to go through 1 week. I had planned to go through 3 weeks of the MLB season last year and accumulate, what would that be, 21 slates? I wanted to look at not just the winner, though. I wanted to look at the top 10 because in the MLB $10 ace on FanDuel, that's about a 500-player, 600-player contest. Looking at the top 10 is about the top 5% of scores. And by doing that, I'm not just getting, honestly, winning that tournament is luck. Between finishing 1st or 3rd or 5th, it's luck. But getting into that top 10 more often is going to give you winning chances more often. It's what you often hear me say inside DFS Army. I'm not talking about winning. I'm talking about getting good at getting close. That's what opens up all the opportunity for you. So studying that top 10 or top 15 or top 20 lineups, what gets you up close? What gives you the chance to win is what I like to research. So not just the winner, I'm looking at the entire top 10. Across these 7 slates, that's 70 lineups that we've got a sample size to draw from. Arguably, still a small sample size, but we wanted to at least see that the trend showed up immediately. Out of those 70 lineups, 42 of them contained at least a 4-man stack. That's crazy to me. 3-man stacks were in 20 of the 70, so like half as often as a 4-man stack, and 8 out of 70 times the lineup was 2-man stack or unstacked completely. That's about 10% of the time. The majority of the time, 62 out of 70 times, you've got a 3 or a 4-man stack in the lineup. Should you stack? The $10 ace is also a sharper contest. Your better players can play that. The better players are blocked out of $5 and below contests, so they're forced to play those higher entries. When you study those higher entries, you can see what the sharper players are doing, and they are stacking. They're stacking their butts off. The 4x2 stack, 19 out of 70 times was in the top 10. 4x4, 12 times. 3x2, 12 times. 4x3, 11 times. Now the 11s and the 12s are probably an outlier, but the 19 isn't. The 4x2 is probably the most common stack in the top 10 of these contests. But again, the 4-man stack, whether it's 4x2, 4x3, 4x4, dominates. Make sense? We should be stacking. We should be stacking hard. We should be stacking often. Period. End of story. So just quickly, a couple of final thoughts for you. Just stack and stack and stack. Early season, late season, rain delay season. It doesn't matter. Double headers. It doesn't short slates, big slates. It doesn't matter. I did notice that on April 6th, it was a smaller slate of 4 games, and you did see more 3-man stacks than you saw 4-man stacks in that top 10. So maybe there's a thing there to dig into later. But the bottom line is we need to be stacking at least 3 or 4 players per slate. Both sides of your lineup if you can. Both sides. And when we're looking at who is in those winning top 10, is it always the same dudes? And the answer is no. Same name? No. There were no repeats in the top 10. I saw one time when one player got in there twice, and he was on a heater. So when you start thinking that that's not fair, Osimo wins all the time, or back in the day, Condia and Max Alert, yeah, they do. They win a lot, but they don't win all the time. There's plenty of room for everybody to get in there and start winning. What I did notice was the avatars. In those avatars, those players that did not use an avatar were less likely to stack. If that guy had an avatar, odds are he was stacking. And I don't mean a DFS Army avatar, I mean any kind of an avatar. If he took the time to upload the avatar to his name, he's taking DFS probably more serious than the guy who didn't care to. And the guy who didn't care to can be dead money because he's not stacking. Now, some of the non-avatar lineups did stack, of course. But I noticed overwhelmingly when I saw non-stacked lineups, I looked back at the name and it didn't have an avatar. A lot, quite often. So there's one of the ways to find low-hanging fruit. So call this a bonus tip. Go looking through your contests and see how many non-avatar players are in there. If you're looking at a 3-man or a 5-man or maybe a 10-man league or something like that, pick one that has a lot of non-avatar players in it. If everybody has an avatar, you're probably going to find some tougher competition. If you go through your 50-50s and you go through your cash games, your head-to-heads, look for guys with avatars. Avoid them. You're going to find lower hanging fruit, more dead money, if you focus on the players that don't have an avatar. So I'll leave you with that tip for the day. You know where to find me inside DFSArmy.com. I'm your boy. I'm Chapadong. I study the fundamentals. I can study the contests. I can help you win. I can turn you into a better player. But you got to come inside DFSArmy.com. Use coupon code DFSArmy. And hope to see you before the baseball season starts in 2 days. Take care and peace out, homies. We'll see you later.